Welcome to the South America Challenge here on HeflaTV HB1. We're going to start the day off with a best of three between Sad Voids and CNB in the upper bracket of the tournament. I'm GrandisV and I'll be joined by Mikelorus through the duration of this series.
So correct me if I'm wrong, pretty sure Sooth's not part of CNB. I think most people would say CNB the favorites to win this series, though Sad Boys are pretty good. They just don't have the same kind of brand name that CNB have, at least in the South American scene. So I would say CNB slight favorites, but definitely possible for Sad Boys to upset, as they've been playing pretty well recently.
Yeah, and CNB are sort of in a state of flux right now as far as who's actually playing on their team and aren't the most stable of lineups. I definitely think that Sad Voids have a chance. I expect a 2-1 either way.
All right, so we have ourselves a draft. Looks like many of the more flavor of the month heroes are going to be banned out. In fact, all of them. And then Sniper as well, who's getting to that stage. Batrider is going to be the first pick for CNB into a possible Vengeful Spirit. Most teams, if not all teams, are more than happy to pick up that hero first blindly. And now for Sad Voids, it's going to be even better, seeing as though there's a Batrider on the other end. So a risky first pick for CNB and already sufficiently punished.
Yeah, definitely so. Going to give them a nice way to counteract that initiation coming out from the Batrider. Whether you're swapping the target that gets lassoed or swapping the Batrider himself, it's going to disrupt that very heavily. Phoenix, very early on, picked up by Sad Voids. This does leave CNB with plenty of picks to punish it, and I think Lion's a decent way to do that, with a decent amount of zoning power as well as a large amount of disables to keep the Phoenix from diving or supernova-ing. All around, just a really good support. It's really interesting to see Sad Voids prioritize the Phoenix so early.
And it's kind of weird to see both teams grab their offlane super early, and both these heroes that are going towards the offlane are fairly easily countered. Maybe the Batrider a little bit less so, since he just couldn't go to the jungle, but the point of him going to the jungle is that he could get his lasso and blink dagger up at a quick time, and then Vengeful Spirit will just swap that out. And as you said, Phoenix is very easy to handle in lane. A very fragile hero, very reliant on that Icarus dive to really hold on to the lane. It's not uncommon to see Phoenixes just get utterly smashed in lane. You don't really need a powerhouse lane to do it either. So if CNB grab another range support or something like an Earthshaker to try to close in the distance so that you get close to the Phoenix with the Lion, then you follow up with chain stuns and your carry is going to participate or something like that, then this Phoenix is just going to get nothing. And a Phoenix with nothing is one of the most depressing heroes in the game.
Yeah, it really is. Without access to levels and without farm, really a lackluster hero. And about half of the Phoenixes I've seen do end up getting shut down, at least in the very early portion of the game. As far as our second stage bans are concerned, Sad Void's going to put a lot of hate on some mobile carries, with Anti-Mage and Storm Spirit banned out, and CNB will take out the Disruptor and the Slark.
Right, so both sides are going to be scared of that mobility, it seems. CNB do have the initiation edge with this Batrider, and with the Phoenix pickup for Sad Voids, it's unlikely that they're going to be going for a Clockwork or anything like that. So initiation for Sad Voids most likely going to be pretty light. They can go for something like a Brewmaster, but that's where the Lion comes into play for CNB. You can hex out the Brewmaster if you're in the right place, and then just cancel out his initiation entirely, and ideally kill him off if you're that Lion. So for CNB, even though their Batrider is already fairly hard countered by the Vengeful Spirit, I like where their draft is sitting a lot more than for Sad Void. I think that Phoenix, especially this early on, is just too weak.
They'll follow up that Phoenix with an IO for Sad Void's lineup. They are fairly lockdown light, but this is going to offer them a nice amount of global team fight pressure. I think the IO and the Phoenix are both very volatile heroes. We'll have to see if Sad Voids can make it work.
They're both strength heroes as well, and because of the lack of CC from the Sad Void side, CNB might be having the Timbersaw a little bit more in consideration right now. Would mess with their lanes a little bit, but the strength of the hero, the upside is there for sure. Witch Doctor is going to be the ban for CNB, pretty much in direct response to that IO, but also as far as zoning out a Phoenix in lane, in a defensive tri-lane, which I assume CNB are going to be running at this point. Witch Doctor has a lot of base damage, he has a lot of range, and Cask sets up pretty well for Lion to close in for his crowd control suite. CNB, they have some solid supports that could actually roam around and do stuff, whereas for Sad Voids, Venge can do that, but rarely by herself, and Io probably isn't going to be ganking anyone anytime soon.
Although they lack inside the early laning stage and the ability to actually get kills, the defensive capability of Sad Void supports is pretty solid, so I don't know, we'll have to see if CNB are going to be able to actually capitalize on that advantage that they do have innately by their draft. For Sad Void's IO partner, I'd expect a Tiny here. I don't really think there's anything better, but one can always hope for something out of the ordinary.
Bristleback would also be pretty reasonable here for the IO. or for the Sad Void side rather, the IO partner, I suppose. The Bristleback, Tiny, probably the more premium heroes. I don't think this is a Chaos Knight game. Always got to mention that because I'm always waiting for the day, but it's so far just not coming ever. Uh, yeah, Tiny seems just good. Witch Doctor, Lion are incredibly soft, and Avatos would kill both those heroes off instantly for most of the game. And even Batrider's not immune to that. They are going to grab the Tiny, then CNB grab a Spectre. It's a good hero against, well, three of the Sad Void's heroes, Io, Phoenix, and Vengeful Spirit. Though if this Tiny gets on top of the Spectre, then Spectre just doesn't stand a chance.
That said, I think CNB have an adequate amount of space creation in order to allow the Spectre to have the time to get online, and the Vengeful Spirit and Io, since they aren't able to rotate and really punish the Spectre pick in any significant way, I think that at a certain point CNB will be able to get the Spectre online, and an online Spectre is incredibly scary. It's a solid pick, I'd say, but maybe I would have liked something a little bit more active. We'll see TA and Scarth Mage, the last bans, as Sad Voids pick up a puck to round out their lineup.
It's not going to be an immune puck. Is quite a bit of crowd control on the CNB side. Looks like Sad Voids might be going with a defensive tri-lane with their Tiny IO or just run dual lanes or something like that. Regardless, their lanes are solid enough. Really, the Phoenix lane is the only one that's going to be pretty bad for them. But other than that, Tiny Vengeful Spirit just as a dual lane is pretty dangerous. Add a puck into a solo lane or something like that, and usually they're going to be pretty happy. CNB, they are going to grab a Brewmaster for their mid lane, and I think that's a pretty good pick. Sad Voids do have quite a few tools now to deal with that Brewmaster as far as his team fight contributions are concerned. But when you're running a Spectre, you really need a lot of mid-game power, and that's what they have right now. Just a lot of heroes to hold down the fort, and then try to get to the late game where the Spectre is, hopefully for CNB, just going to be able to carry the entire game by herself.
Yeah, and I really do think that CNB's lineup is a little bit more self-contained and a little bit more stable. For Sad Voids, I might even like to see them throw the Phoenix towards the mid lane and have the puck go towards the off lane just to make sure that the Phoenix doesn't get completely shut down. It looks like that's not going to be the case, though. Krupa going to be taking up that Phoenix. The supports Gexos on the Vengeful Spirit, as well as Io, played by Kezia. Zap Brannigan going to be on the puck, and last but not least, Gix on the Tiny.
And for the CNB side, Klotz is going to be playing the Spectre, stand-in tag, pretty sure not a stand-in. VSW is on the Lion, same thing, pretty sure he's not a stand-in. Sooth is going to be playing the Brewmaster, pretty sure he is a stand-in. Alamau is going to be playing the Witch Doctor, and then Ned is going to be handling the Batrider up towards top. Also, pretty sure not a real stand-in. I think they just have to fix their team. VSW, though, is going to get jumped with the Magic Missile, going out to do something. He doesn't even have a ward. I don't know why he was there. Toss on the the puck, rather. Then one more right-click is going to give them an easy first blood. You only really go out there if you have an observer ward, and he didn't, so I don't know why VSW was going there.
I think he was expecting the Phoenix to go and try to place a ward, and he wanted to intercept him halfway, but Garuba had more than enough support there, and the Lion was way too far out. I think that's incredibly risky to do. The Lion ends up paying for that, and the first blood is going to go the way of Sad Voids.
And it's also going to be going towards Zap Brannigan. A puck getting that first blood is therefore that much closer to Boots, Bottle, or anything like that. They're also going to catch Ned with the Magic Missile. I don't think they have quite enough follow-up. Tiny doesn't have an Avalanche. Unfortunately for the Sad Void side, they're just a little bit short on that. They will grab the Bounty Rune, put a lot of hurt onto the Batrider, but now that Tiny's out of mana, not exactly the greatest way to start out since Kezia doesn't even have a Clarity or anything like that. But a Puck with a fast bottle is going to be pretty difficult to deal with. Already the matchup is pretty good for Puck versus the Brewmaster, but having that additional amount of gold is going to make it pretty much a cakewalk.
Yeah, more or less. Even after starting out with so many stat items, it's pretty much going to be like Zap Brannigan's rushing towards the bottle, and already almost level 2 after picking up the Bounty Rune as well. Spectre gets the one in bottom as Phoenix does fail the Icarus dive steal. I don't think that really hurts Sad Voids that much. For now, the Phoenix isn't going to be able to get pretty much anything, and I don't think getting that Bounty Rune would have changed the state of the game at all. After Fire Spirits start getting leveled up, maybe you can put a little bit of pressure onto the Spectre, but not if the supports are nearby. For now, VSW as well as LMAO aren't actually very close. They're running Polos.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, the jungle is being blocked out a little bit. Fortunately for them, the Batrider will still be, if necessary, able to stack up the two camps that are closer to the mid lane. Unfortunately for him, one of them is Mud Golems. No one likes those guys. But if Ned needs to, then he can. And in this particular lane, Though right now he's safe because the Tiny doesn't have any mana, that's not going to last forever. Once the Tiny does get to that magic 240 mana mark, then Ned is going to be in for a world of hurt. And at that point, he's most likely going to leave and try to get his Blink Dagger elsewhere in the jungle mostly. So Batrider has a little bit of time, and that's probably a little bit better than what the Phoenix has, who right now, since the Witch Doctor is starting to zone him out in lane, is going to be in for a much more dangerous time than the top lane Batrider for CNB.
Yeah, really the main goal of offlane Batrider is to get to that level 2 mark. Once you have level 2, jungling is pretty darn easy, and I think he should be able to make it to that point. He's going to go ahead and pull over his creeps to the side lane and then farm up the Centaur camp. Let's see if it's going to be successful. They are going to look for the Brewmaster. They bring in the light over the sidelines, but it's not enough. Zap Brannigan gets it just with the raw right-click damage, and he should be able to make it out safely, too.
Brewmaster had like 50 health left, but Puck just hits a little bit too hard. I think that was probably an unlucky Stout Shield's I guess, lack of proc, and that would have otherwise saved Soothes, but he got really close to the Puck, and you don't really want to be doing that. The damage trading is not going to be the best for the Brewmaster, or not going to be the worst for the Brewmaster, but still, the Puck going for that Null Talisman opening is going to have a tough time, or Soothes rather, is going to have a tough time versus that Puck because he is just outmatched, simply outmatched as far as the damage output is concerned. Luckily for CNB, they don't lose the courier there, and the Puck was in a position where he could have probably tried to go for it.
Lion picking up the DD rune, gonna force out the Vengeful Spirit to TP towards the mid lane and attempt to help out Zap Brannigan if they actually went for that. But still, things are looking alright for Sad Voids across the map, 2-0. And they've also managed to make a lot of stacks for themselves. Who is actually going to farm these up is still yet to be seen. Probably the Tiny at a certain point once he gets more levels up into the Avalanche toss. And even though the Phoenix can't outright farm them, as long as the Phoenix is involved, that extra experience can really do a lot of work. And Karuba actually hasn't been zoned out as much as I thought he would, mostly because Lion went for that roam into mid lane.
And that really didn't do that much. He's going to try again for this Phoenix down towards bottom. There is still Observer Ward that has quite a bit of time, and Karuba might be facing down a death right now. If the Lion gets the Hex off, then the Phoenix is simply going to die. And it looks like Lion's in good position to do so. He's going to wait for the dive, ideally, but no, he's not going to decide to go for the Hex. Looks like the Witch Doctor a little bit too far away to follow up, and Phoenix just taking a little bit of chip damage. Smoke Gank failed from the CNB side, and this support duo for the CNB team, they haven't really done that much. They have kind of zoned out Karuba, but not really in a huge amount, at least not as much as the supports on Sad Voids have to the Batrider.
Yeah, surprisingly too, Phoenix is going to be dropped low, and Karuba's taking a lot of damage for the Switch Doctor, going to be forced to dive away. The Cask follows him, drops him down to double digits HP, but he'll be able to salve up and stay around. This Phoenix has almost found level 4, where the Batrider is completely gone from the lane. He's been trying to jungle up, but not entirely successfully. He hasn't been able to mop up his stack just yet. After he does, they'll be on even footing, but really it's impressive how much Karuba's been able to get out of this lane.
Well, he does have to worry about eventually a Tiny, or mid lane actually. Soothe is going to get jumped. There is a magic missile there. Orb is going to whiff. Zap Brannigan is level 6, but he doesn't have a coil. Looks like he hit that mid-fight. I don't think that would have actually given them the kill, but still Zap Brannigan, if he has any support now, can put a lot more pressure towards the Brewmaster. Brewmaster will have his 6 soon enough, but so far it hasn't seemed like CNB are really willing to go for this Puck in a truly aggressive fashion with 2 of their supports. So this Puck, though he may be in a little bit of trouble if he gets chain stunned, is probably not going to be facing any chain stun anytime soon.
I'm actually surprised how well Suze is able to CS inside this lane. He's almost doubling up the Puck, 30-8 compared to 16-1. Although the Puck is slightly ahead when it comes to experience, this Brewmaster is going to be on his way towards his Blink Dagger, where the Puck is also going to be getting to that mark, mostly because he got 2 kills, but still Suze is not completely shut down.
Yeah, the Drunken Haze is certainly helping out quite a bit in that. If you're a Brewmaster and you're going up against such a long-range hero, most likely you're not going to have a chance to Thunderclap, so using your mana for Drunken Haze just to gain a little bit of edge in the lane is probably going to be ideal. And I don't want to say it's all because of Drunken Haze that he has doubled up the Puck, but for sure the Drunken Haze has been a large part of that, because Zap Brannigan, as the Puck, has a pretty good projectile, has really high base damage, but just is struggling because of that mischance.
The good news for CNB is that their Spectre is pretty much being untouched when it comes to farm. 43 and 12, you can't really ask for much better. on a Spectre, but what is the Spectre's build or Spectre building with 2 stages mass? That would imply an Orchid, but I don't think he's actually going to fully commit. What are your thoughts?
Well, one of those might be building into an urn, and then maybe you get a Ring of Aquila with the other, and right now you just want to hold them because he's maxed out Spectral Dagger. It's kind of a roundabout way of going for it, but I think if you are planning on going for both Urn and Aquila, then this is pretty reasonable because Spectral Dagger does cost a hell of a lot of mana, and it looks like one of them will in fact be an Urn. Would love to see an Orchid Spectre. That would be super interesting, but it looks like it's going to be a vanilla item build in a not so vanilla fashion.
Yeah, pretty much. I was half hoping just because it's weird, but it looks like Basilius as well as Urn is going to be the order of business, and that's very reasonable. Just those extra stat items to help you get over the hump that Spectre does struggle with in that early mid-game portion. We do have level 6 up for Spectre, so with Relocate can get active, and it looks like they're going to do that in mid. Gex is very low on the Vengeful Spirit. They know she's alone, but Spectre decides not to hunt in. The Brewmaster doesn't get the kill either. Spectre just wants to sit down and chill in bottom, it seems.
Spectre also was very close to killing off the Puck over in the, I guess, the tier 4 area where Puck was falling back at very low amounts of HP. This is the downside of going for level 3 Spectral Dagger. I'm fairly certain if that was a level 3 Desolate instead, it would have been probably 2 kills for the Spectre, but instead, because she didn't decide to reality into anywhere, she wasn't able to use 3 of her skill points, and therefore it's a lot of wasted value. Ned is going to run into that Vengeful Spirit, who's already very low, no mana for Magic Missile. Unfortunately for her, she will escape, though. Ned is going to be pretty happy that he gets to steal a double stack from the Tiny.
Yeah, Dreamcoil committed on the Batrider, but he's going to get up to the high ground, try to TP out. Will the damage be there? It will? He dies in base to the coil.
Huh. It looked like that wasn't going to be enough, but it looks like it was just enough. Batrider is rather tanky, but with so many heroes coming in, not Zap Renegade getting the jump initially, definitely being sufficiently punished for getting that double stack. Probably not worth it for him. Now 3-0 in favor of the Sad Void side, and they're being slightly outfarmed by the Spectre, at least the Tiny is, but it's a matter of time before the IO gets his level 6. He's not too far away from it. And if you relocate onto a Spectre, Avalanche Toss with anyone to help out there is going to be a pretty easy kill. So Sad Voids have yet to really step up the pressure.
For sure. It's pretty scary. The Phoenix has managed to find himself level 5 and is on par with the Batrider in everything except for farm, since Ned has been taking up those jungle stacks. But once they do have that relocate, as you said, there are a lot of openings for ganks and for them to apply pressure towards the CNB side. For now, the game is pretty even, all things considered. CNB, slight advantage when it comes to the farm, and for Sad Void, slight advantage when it comes to the kills. So, yeah, we're pretty much on even footing till either team decides to blow the whistle. With the Blink Dagger on the Batrider, they can do that, and with a Relocate on the Wisp, it's Sad Void's turn. So we'll have to see which one comes out first. Probably going to be level 6 for Kezia.
Mid, though, Soothes is going to get jumped. He is not going to get silenced out of his split. He's going to try to turn around and get a kill here, but Vengeful Spirit already under cover of her tower. Should be safe unless Spectre comes in. Reality not being used just yet, and there it is. Level 3 Dagger should get the kill here, although Klotz doesn't have enough mana. They will chase down the Venge and kill her off in the end. Klotz taking a lot of damage. Soothes also very low. Orb through the both of them, but the Puck unwilling to commit as he himself isn't really that healthy. So they chase down the Vengeful Spirit, they kill him off, and Spectre does get the kill as well. Pretty slow because he doesn't have the mana to really support his skill choices, but hey, kill's a kill. Phoenix going to try to dive for the Brewmaster. Fire Spirit's both missing, however. Finally, CNB get on the board, and it's in probably the ideal way. Spectre getting a kill.
Yeah, and Spectre is going to start chilling around as the Batrider farms up this stack. Klotz might end up getting a few of these CS, in fact has, I believe, gets one with Dispersion.
Alright. Hold on, I'm just going to have to restart Dota real fast.
Yeah, no worries. I was disconnected, so we'll be waiting for you.
Alright,
hopefully
well,
it's not... Yeah.
Anyway, the Brewmaster should have his Blink Dagger by now. I think he does. I just disconnected, so I can't actually check, but that is going to help out in CNB's efforts by quite a large margin. Like, that is going to buy a little bit more space for the Batrider to get his, and then the Blink Dagger's just going to try to cascade into one another.
Yeah, he does have that Blink Dagger currently inside the base. Oh, it looks like we had a misclick coming out from Gexos. They were unpausing, but yeah, we're still waiting on the IO, so you should have plenty of time to actually reconnect. I would love to know what is wrong with Kezia, but they won't let us know. So we'll just kind of chill and wait until that all subsides.
You know, just Skype issues and stuff like that. There's
Skype,
always something.
TeamSpeak, yeah, you know.
Sometimes Skype and TeamSpeak at the same time.
Why not we throw in Mumble too? Like, they could
Yeah.
just all be malfunctioning.
All right, well, I'm back. If I have time to reconnect, then so will the IO. Look at that. Perfect timing, guys. Literally perfect timing. But 1-3 Brewmaster does, in fact, have his Blink Dagger now that I can actually check it. And Ned clearing out a whole bunch of creeps. This isn't going to outright give him his Blink, but it will get him fairly close once he actually does clean up the rest of these.
Yeah, something along 1900 gold once he's done with all of these creeps, and well, that's just a hop, skip, and a jump till that crucial item up. And once they have the double blink daggers, that's when CNB can really start looking to get aggressive. In fact, he's going to have a little bit more gold than that.
Hopefully, when they have those Blink Daggers, Spectre will have a Haunt Reality Dagger available to her. Otherwise, this maxed out Spectral Dagger build is not really going to be doing that great. Spectre's int growth is not terrible, but it is very difficult to support that 310 mana cost of the Haunt into Spectral Dagger, and that's usually why we see Spectres max out Desolate, or one of the reasons why we see Spectres max out Desolate, is that it's hard to just keep throwing out those daggers.
Yeah, and because Desolate's just an amazing skill, all things considered. I think if you switch the 2-4 here for Spectre, it's pretty much the standard build. I don't think this is really going to impact anything. In the grand scheme of things, by the time it probably comes to fruition, Spectre will probably have the Desolate maxed out anyway.
Yeah, and she's getting a lot of time in the bottom lane. No pressure is applied to her, and even the Phoenix rejoining the lane can't apply pressure to the Spectre, so she has opportunities for sure. And like even right now, she doesn't know it, but the puck is very low and in lethal range for the Spectre. But with both Blink Daggers now up, Ned has his. He's going to go teleport down to the bottom lane where he's going to meet up with Alma for a smoke. And it looks like they want to go for a kill on the Phoenix. Klotz can help out with the dagger, and he can chase with the Haunt. And it looks like Phoenix might be in a little bit of trouble right now. Unfortunately, for the CNB side, the dagger missed. Phoenix might still be going down here, but it seems like he smells something.
At the very least, he's playing pretty defensively, and they do have the IO relocate if they want to help and save this Phoenix. They're going to lasso with the Death Ward. He gets obliterated. Spectre coming in for nothing more than the last hit. Desolate damage is more than enough, and my goodness, I expected Phoenix to survive a little bit longer than that. Tiny and IO up towards top. We'll get a tower destruction on the top tier 1. Didn't actually see if they
That was
got
a while
it or
ago,
not.
I think.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, Batrider wasn't in the lane, and 3v0 lane typically means that the tower is going to fall rather quickly. But CNB, they do get a pretty easy kill on the Phoenix. Not even the chance of using the Supernova, and yeah, it's a good decision. Just commit the Death Ward. It's not really a high cooldown skill anyway. It's rather similar to the Lasso, just 10 seconds difference there. So if you could keep doing that, just layering the Death Ward with the Lasso, not many Sad Voids heroes can survive at this stage in the game because they're not really stacked up on armor.
No, definitely not. Tiny sitting at 1. Phoenix, all the armor that the Phoenix has is in the Tranquil boots, and Io also in a pretty similar boat. They would love to have a little bit extra to patch up that weakness. We do have the Blink Clap split initiation online for Seuss, so I'll have to see where he's going to go with that one. We also have a Haunt in from the Spectre at the ready. Both teams with the ability to join the fights with their carries in an instant, which is not something that we get to see every game.
Yeah, it's going to be a very much so game of whack-a-mole, and when you have a situation like that, the real losers are going to be the supports because they can't really do anything about it. But VSW grabs Blink Dagger. This Lion has been quietly farming in the background, and this is just going to give CNB a little bit more of that initiation edge, which they already have an advantage initially. Their Spectre is also very close to this Radiance, so Sad Voids, yeah, they have a Tiny who is packing that Aghanim Scepter. Yeah, he just has it delivered now. The Radiant Spectre is very swiftly incoming, and so far, she's on top of the net worth chart. You never want to give a Spectre free farm. I would say late game Spectre with free farm is a little more dangerous than Tiny with free farm.
Yeah, it's really hard to actually make that call. It depends on the supporting cast, but I think this game, definitely the case. Illusion picked up by the Phoenix is going to be chilling down towards bottom with one of them, but I think the jig is up. I don't expect them to go on this Illusion or really do anything about it. Kloss will just go back and farm up in the jungle. Why even bother? They're rotating a lot of heroes down to this bottom lane to try to put an end to Spectre's free farming days.
And if they actually find vision on the Spectre, it will work out pretty well. Gix is spotted right now. They don't know that the Vengeful Spirit is smoked up. And by the way, Venge has some pretty sweet cosmetics, all the icons and whatnot. But unfortunately for them, they can't really find anyone except for the Witch Doctor. It's definitely worth getting this kill because he's very easy to kill off. But unfortunately, he's no longer an option. Coil range, not quite there. It looks like they weren't actually sure if the hero was there, and then it was too late. They're going to get a tower regardless, but they would really love to get a kill right now. They might catch VSW, who fails to dodge with his Blink Dagger. He will land a two-man spike. Finger of Death available. Will throw the Hex towards the Phoenix. Still has that Finger of Death, but he won't commit it just yet. He will throw it to the Phoenix, but instantly the Supernova in response, so pretty much the ultimate doing nothing. It's a tower destruction, and it's a Lion kill. Pretty much all because he didn't expect the Vengeful Spirit to be there. Usually you can dodge those magic missiles with a Blink.
Yeah, definitely. So the smoke ends up paying for itself, I'd say, for Sad Voids. But not in a huge way. The tier 2 tower in mid's going to take some amount of damage, about a third, as the Spectre's been split pushing that in the meantime. Brewmaster with his Blink primed and ready to go, potentially looking for a dive onto Gix with this split. However, the Batrider's a little too low to actually engage, so I don't think they're going to go for it.
Yeah, usually you can sometimes kill off the Tiny. It's the fact that he has his Aghanim Scepter and Strength Treads already up means that even though he doesn't have much armor, and that's really great for the Primal Split Brewlings, just cutting through that much HP is going to take a hell of a long time unless you actually lock them down and then Death Ward him. And that's probably ideal, but of course locking him down involves Batrider being healthy enough to want to dive a tier 1. Currently that's not the case, but Ned does have another smoke, and I wouldn't be surprised if he joins up with the Witch Doctor one more time and then goes hunting. Still, this combo can kill off, I want to say, any of the Sad Voids heroes, even the tankiest hero, the Tiny.
Yeah, definitely so. It's a very potent combination, but then again, the Witch Doctor also needs to be careful. If he gets caught out by an Avalanche Toss combination, I'm tempted to say that he's almost just straight up dead. If not for the Ogre Club, I think he would be.
Yeah, probably, but the smoke is actually going to happen over towards mid. Batrider still hidden, and Sood's trying to play as if nothing is wrong. They're going to maybe be revealed by an invisible puck. There is initiation in. Sood's going to hit with the Magic Missile. VSW is there with a two-man spike onto both Gix and Kezi, who have teleported in. Split does go off in the end, and Avalanche is also going to miss. The IO is going to go down first. Just the Brewmaster in the middle here as Alamo channels that ultimate. It's going to kill off the puck, and it will kill off the Tiny once he drops down again, probably taking a lot of damage. Rock a little bit too late, but here comes the Haunt. Gix is going to die one way or another, and he will go down to the Brewmaster. Now they're chasing after this Vengeful Spirit, who is going to get Flame broken back. Suze with the Blink crit is going to get that kill. Now they have the Phoenix Sun to deal with, but with just a couple hits, it will be a complete team wipe, a triple kill for Suze, and they only lose a Lion. A 5-for-1 trade, phenomenal for CNB.
Absolutely disastrous. The Lion was able to drop the spike immediately once the relocate came in from the IO and the Tiny, and they were able to burst down the Wisp very quickly before he was able to really do anything inside the fight. And the Tiny without his Wisp, it feels kind of naked. He wasn't really able to stick onto any targets, and that Death Ward channel was pretty much the end of it all. The puck was bursted down in a heartbeat, and although they didn't really want to drop the Tiny down instantly since they didn't have the boulder to follow up, they were able to mop up everything, and Spectre being involved in those kills means that Klotz almost has the completed Radiance after just picking up the Relic just a minute ago.
Yeah, the Spectre is going to be really dangerous, but VSW is more so. He's going to jump in towards the IO, kill him off in an instant, get swapped back, and now he's going to get coiled, magic missiled, everything under the sun. Probably just turn around and cast spells or just die. He was going to die anyway. A 1-for-1, and that's reasonable, I guess, for the Lion after having gotten a solo kill. Is going to get a secondary urn for the team. Probably not really the ideal build, but sometimes when you're dying, you just got to buy out anyway, I suppose. Either way, it's 8-6, and CNB, they're pretty well set for the late game. This Tiny, as you said, is kind of naked without the IO and is really bad up against just that wind aspect. You throw him up into the air and literally doing no damage. All of that net worth is going down the tubes, and it's so very easy for the Brewmaster to pull that off, assuming he doesn't get completely chain stunned.
Yeah, and you really don't want to build into a BKB on the Tiny, at least this early on. You'd like to get a Manta-style, Assault Cuirass, pretty much anything but. He's probably going to be forced into it, however, as Zeus is just going to be a constant nuisance. Klotz Does have the Radiance flying out to him now, and at this point, the supporting cast from Sad Voids are going to be very sad. The Radiance burn plus the Desolate damage means that at the start of the fight, Io is going to be down to like a third of his HP, or even less. Similar story for the Venge, Phoenix, and pretty much everybody on Sad Voids, with the exception being Tiny. And Tiny without his team just can't stand up to it. Klutz is already a menace.
And there's also the somewhat slight chance of CNB getting the jump in, and then they haunt in, and then therefore cancel the counter initiation from Zap Brannigan, as Radiance does very easily cancel that Blink Dagger on the puck. It might happen, it might not, who knows, but the sheer possibility of that means that Zap Brannigan, he's going to have to watch his positioning a little bit closely, because most of the time you want to Blink, Silence, Coil, and if you get your Blink Dagger canceled, obviously you can't do that. You have to orb in and then try to coil, and that's a lot slower, and you need to be closer in order to do that. So that is also a pretty potent threat coming out from this completed Radiance. The Spectre is already at the top of the net worth chart, has been there for most of the game, and given the farm speed of the hero with this Radiance now up her ability to split push, I expect the Spectre to stay pretty much firmly on top, at least until Tiny clears out, I don't know, Ancient Stack, something like that. They're going to haunt and just get some vision off of it, while at the same time dropping the Vengeful Spirit down to half HP. Cloth is going to reality into the Phoenix. He does have backup here, but an Avalanche Toss is going to kill him off instantly. The Suze Brewmaster is going to come in. However, the Supernova is going to mean that he doesn't have any help right now. They will kill off Kezia just with the burn damage. But Batrider is going to be an even trade. The Earth aspect still surviving right now, but I don't know if it will survive for much longer, because he has to blink out straight away once this time's out, and there are quite a few heroes on his tail. He will not get the blink out. Avalanche is there, plus the coil. Soothe is going to die as well. Lion going to arrive for a spike. He's way too late to this party. That was a questionable initiation, to say the least, for CNB.
Yeah, I don't think the Spectre should have hunted in at all. It scouted out a potential gank down towards bottom, and it also showed the Tiny and Io being close by to the Phoenix. I'm really tempted to say that that was a misclick, because I don't think that they had enough close by to help. The Batrider was there, but that was about it. The Io was able to survive for a lot longer with Overcharge, and being so close to Gix, there wasn't any ability for the Desolate to actually have any impact. Roshan going to be immediately attempted by Sad Voids, and it looks like it's going to be taken. Even without any lifesteal on Gix, they had more than enough damage with Overcharge and Sustain. That's going to be a double life, and the most of an Assault Cuirass picked up. Relocate up towards top just to counter push, it seems.
Well, could have used TPs, but it seems like they want to travel in style. Regardless, they would have been able to clear out Roshan anyway, as CNB ordinarily have an insane Roshan fight lineup with the Brewmaster there, with Batrider, and with the Spectre, and Death Ward, and Spike. Like, these are all tools that you don't want to be going up against, but there are tools that CNB didn't have available. Split is not going to be up for another 30 seconds, and until then, CNB are really unwilling to fight. They also lack the mana on Spectre right now to convincingly fight with that hero, so CNB, they're pretty much going to have this game paused for them, whereas for Sad Voids, just having the Aegis in and of itself is going to let them make some pretty aggressive plays. This Tier 1 mid tower is still alive, and quite frankly, I don't really see CNB trying to defend it, just because Tiny does so much damage towards tower. They're going to haunt, look for someone. Karuba, awkwardly in his own jungle, is going to get wrecked by the illusion, but just a vision haunt, and it might set up for a kill, as Ned and VSW are closing in, but it looks like that haunt is not really going to do too much, except for confirm to CNB that they're safe for now.
Yeah, and also for Sad Voids back to base, or at the very least to heal up. The Io is not very comfortable after that hunt, but with the bottle is going to top off Tiny and himself or herself, whatever the Wisp may be, at the same time. Assault Cuirass is up for the Tiny, and I really don't think that they can defend without that haunt, especially since Tiny is going to 3-shot, I want to say, the tower in mid. At the very least, it's going to be falling quickly.
Oh, very, very quickly, and Gix is getting to a really tanky stage. Now he has the armor to back up his pretty large HP pool, not to mention that Aegis of the Immortal, but he's going to be the last one to die, I want to say most of the time. As far as the haunts, or the reality in for the Spectre, she won't really be able to do that much to the Tiny, because Craggy Exterior is now maxed out, so everything will just be stunning up against the Tiny, and that's not something that you could easily work around, because Spectre never wants to be going for a BKB to try to get through that. So Tiny is going to be a true menace. Whether or not he's going to be more dangerous than the Spectre, it just remains to be seen. It's pretty much down to positioning at that point and initiation, which, by the way, Ned is looking for. He will dodge an Avalanche, but he still has a lot of Firefly duration right now. If he goes in, though, his net will immediately be swapped out by the Venge. He will Force Staff away, thinking better of that, but Sad Voids moving as a 5-man squad, keeping himself very safe, taking down a Tier 1 tower, and maybe looking for a Tier 2 on the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, really just was such an easy push for them, and CNB are just going to try to split up the map as much as possible. Klotz is going to get a little bit more HP with the casual Vitality booster, looking towards a heart as the next major item for the Spectre, but they just need a little bit more time to wait out the second life for Sad Void's Tiny. He's already hard enough to bring down once, let alone the second time. As long as his defensive cast is close by, I don't think they can do it. Tucci Tower in bottom is going to start getting chunked down as Tiny's cleaving through about 200 HP per swing, as long as the glyph isn't activated.
You know, recharge is up. They have that Hyperstone built into Gix, so he's hitting pretty hard, pretty fast. This Tucci Tower is going to go down. CNB looking to make it even trades, but they cannot race the Sad Void side. You can't race a Tiny with an IO. It's simply not going to work, so they have to teleport back CNB, else they end up losing Rax's. Alamau is a little bit in the front, however, he will not get swapped back. He's going to be fine, but to the base, maybe not as much so. Tower is going to be destroyed. Now the Rax is exposed. Sad Voids don't even have to go for this right now. They have a jump in from Suze. Magic Missile is there, Ned. He has to get a lasso onto the Vengeful Spirit. Swap a little bit late, though. Kruba's going to get dragged all the way back. Supernova is available, plus the mech. He will get hexed up and die, though. He won't have that one. They do cast the Death Ward for quite a long time, but it will cost the Witch Doctor his life. Gix, though, has the Aegis still. He will use it. They have a Cyclone on the Vengeful Spirit, so right now it's just the Tiny all alone. Kezia is going to help him out a little bit, but still the Brewmaster has a lot of split duration left. Zap Brannigan going to orb himself out. They're going to try to bum rush the range Rax. It looks like it will work. Spike through a whole bunch, though, will get another kill as Tiny gets yanked back out by the IO. Zap Brannigan, now left all alone, is going to be chased down. He might have enough to escape. Looks like the Blink Dagger timing's not that great for CNB, so Zap Brannigan is going to survive. End of the fight. Looks like the range Raxes goes down. That's pretty decent for Sad Voids, actually. Zap Brannigan, though, is going to get caught, and looks like now he's going to die.
Yeah, with the blinking from the line, he hardly has a chance to get out of here. He's going to blink up towards the north. He has another Jaunt to his orb, going to make it. Blinking for the Batrider is going to meet him at the receiving end. Krup is there, however, and that's going to buy him enough cover fire, and, well, somehow, Puck makes it out alive. Batrider also going to be just fine, however.
Right, it was a pretty decent start for the CNB side. I think the real problem was there. I think IO bought back. Someone bought back. Yes, IO did buy back, relocated in, and gave Gix another life. So having to deal with Tiny twice is really difficult for the CNB side. Having to deal with a Tiny IO combo twice is damn near impossible. They did their best for sure, but at the end of the day, Aegis got value, and that buyback for the IO also got some serious value. Now that Tiny has a BKB, it's going to be so much more difficult to lock him down. I think up till this point, their best bet was to just Cyclone him and try to ignore him. Now that's no longer possible, or at least a lot more difficult.
Yeah, Gix is going to continue farming up at a pretty astonishing rate for this Tiny, but Sad Voids, I don't think they can sit on this for too much longer. Spectre has the Reaver and the Vitality booster up and ready. Once Spec gets a Heart and a Manta style, that's when things get really hairy for Sad Voids, especially once the BKB wears down for the Tiny himself. I think they're in a good position, but I think that they can't sit on it for much longer.
Sad Voids, they're going to smoke up, so this is about the time when you have such an advantage with the fresh BKB that you want to be going for kills 24/7. Maybe not towards the Brewmaster, but if they somehow get eyes on the Spectre and kill her off, then it's going to open the door for another devastating push or force buybacks, and either way, it's a nice victory for Sad Voids. They're going to go all the way down to the bottom lane. Looks like they want to finish the job that they've already started, and Klotz is going there as well. Oh no, Spectre, you don't want to be here. I can promise you that, because there's going to be, ideally, a swap initiation. Yes, swapping back Klotz, have a Magic Missile there, Avalanche, and Toss, and Spectre is down for a minute with no buyback. This is probably going to be bottom Raxes for Sad Voids.
I thought that the Puck and Vengeful Spirit messed that up a little bit, but the Quill came right before the swap, so at the receiving end, Spectre ends up losing her life, and without the Spectre, I think Melee Barracks is just down. Even without creep support, they can theoretically backdoor this. They are making some amount of ground. Much easier to wait for the creeps, though.
And then Tiny's going to be able to clean it out before CNB can even mobilize. Looks like they're not even going to try to mobilize, and unfortunately for the Sad Void side, they still have to work through 2 tier 2s, and both those towers are pretty healthy, but still it's not really going to bother them too much because they get what they came for, and CNB now are in for a lot more trouble in this game. This Tiny is getting so much more momentum. He already picked up the BKB rather recently, and suddenly he's up to another 2,300 gold. He can go for that Manta style, and backdooring with those illusions is still pretty damaging, and CNB will have to struggle to deal with that.
Yeah, definitely so. It's a little interesting to see Vengeful Spirit not go for any more points in the Vengeance Sword, but once those do come up, Tiny's going to be hitting even harder if that's actually possible. He's doing quite a lot of work by himself. I was assembling and disassembling items inside the base. Eventually settles on Tranquil Boots as well as a Sage's Mask. I was thinking maybe he'd end up going for Vladir's Offering with that configuration of items, but at least for now that's not going to be the choice.
Well, we do have a lasso pulling back the Vengeful Spirit. Ned's going to try to get him close enough to the Witch Doctor. Yule Scepter from the Batrider will most likely kill off this Venge. Luckily for them, they don't have to deal with the relocation, at least not yet. Zap Brannigan is going to come in looking for a coil opening. Here comes the Tiny Io as well. They will go straight for VSW. No more spike available. They will not be able to cancel out the Brewmaster ultimate, and they will take a couple hits from the Death Ward, but Klotz is going to get beaten down by the BKB Tiny. Now going to try to go for the Sun. Looks like that's not going to be completely viable. He's going to instead just try to go for these Brewlings, who are a little bit clumped up. They will be able to Cyclone out the Tiny. It looks like the Brewmaster has a chance at surviving now, but he's still being chased down. Fire Spirits, Sunray will cancel the Blink Dagger out from Suze, force pop at the BKB, but you can't man-fight Gix. That's just not going to happen ever. Batrider is going to do what he can, but end score, it's 1 for 2 with Zap Brannigan still wanting to go into this fight. Ned taking a little bit of dot damage, but this Tiny just getting CC'd up a little bit too much. It's a 2 for 1 for Sad Voids, but once again, they kill off the Spectre, and once again, the Tiny survives, and they're right in front of a tier 2, which is probably going to fall.
This crit up for the Tiny is incredibly scary for the CNB. If they end up getting clumped up and cut out by a coil like that again, they're just going to get cleaved down so quickly. Tier 2 tower in mid gets bopped down by Gix. Although the glyph is there to delay this push a little bit, it's definitely not going to save it. Sad Voids, however, under no real pressure. They are going to be very happy with the exchange that they got. Vengeful Spirit for 2, especially the 2 that they got, was incredible. And so they'll back off for the time being. Maybe go for a Roshan. With the double damage rune on Tiny, this Rosh is going to melt.
You might even want to save... Okay, I was going to say kill off the Roshan, then save double damage rune for the push afterwards, but no, the Roshan is just going to get annihilated. They will also catch Ned, though, swapping to break the coil, and Ned is completely hopeless now. That's a very easy kill. Plus, now they have a double life on the Tiny. This is just pretty poor timing and unfortunate timing for the CNB side to be dying, but even if they did have everyone up right now, even if the Batrider were to magically respawn, they would struggle to defend against this because the Tiny has a double damage rune. He's hitting for so much damage. 700, are you kidding me? With crit? That's just, I don't even, just, yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, there's not really words for it. Double damage on Tiny is insane. I mean, just look at that tower. It's
What
not
tower?
there anymore. Yeah, what tower? Melee Barracks also going to suffer a similar fate. Blink in by the Brewmaster, looking for the split with the Haunt in, but this Tiny doesn't really seem to care. He cancels off the Death Ward, channeling BKB up, and with the Supernova going off in the sidelines, there's not really anything that CNB can do about it. The Brewmaster Brewlings don't actually damage that egg, and he's going to come back with a vengeance. Klotz 2-2 gets smacked once, twice, toss in, and will be pursued throughout this game. The Sunray does enough damage. They'll Finger of Death into the Tiny, but he's still at half life and has the Aegis Magic Missile and Alameo. They get the lasso initiation. They're trying to focus down Gix, but that doesn't really seem to be a possibility. The Tiny's still standing strong and now finds himself BSW and LMAO. They'll get cleaved down and he'll kill off the Lion before he ends up falling, but the rest of his team is down. With no buyback from the Io, he is completely alone. He's going to turn into... Excuse me, Suze, the misses aren't going to be enough, or are they? Suze is surviving and will be able to blink out. Gix getting pursued by the Batrider. Can they actually kill off this Tiny, however? They bring the Witch Doctor from the sidelines. Buyback from the puck. Wants to get back in with Boots of Travel to help out his position 1 carry. Paralyzing cast. 5 stacks of the Napalm. Gix going to look to turn for a combination on the Alameo. They'll Dream Coil up the Witch Doctor. Toss in 1. It's going to be Suze. Gix is still standing, but not for long. 7 stacks of Napalm, and he's going to burn down in the fire and the flames. Zap Brannigan running away too. This one's going to be a lot harder to lock down. Blink over towards the sideline. Zap Brannigan surviving, but now damage. Zap Brannigan is going to have to jaunt over towards his orb, but he's going to jaunt right into a Batrider with a haste trim picked up by Ned. If that's even necessary, they don't even need it. That's a dieback on your puck.
And that fight was really great for CNB, but at the same time, it was not a clean fight for Sad Voids, or at least they didn't have a great start to that fight. Tiny was left in the front of the CNB base. He was pretty much right in the Raxes, had the BKB up, was struggling to find heroes to target. In the meantime, CNB bypassed the Tiny, get to the back line, and the Sad Void side, though the Tiny is an absolute powerhouse and he is just going to be killing you every single time, The rest of the team is not so much. Vengeful Spirit's going to find herself swap back onto the Bat Rider, looks like, but Soothe is there. Spike onto the Venge. That will kill her off. Now Ned looking for the IO. They will lock him down and make it 2 very free kills for the CNB side. Sad Voids bleeding heroes right now. They will have Tiny in 15, so they won't lose Raxes, I don't think. But VSW's looking for more. They're actually going to try to crack the egg. They will fail to do so. Klotz has a heart, though. He's very tanky, and he will go for the Kruba kill. They will get that one as well. Klotz dropping low, but has an urn, and he will not die to the tower. Tiny is alive. He has to do this defense up by himself, though. CNB, they get a really good fight because the positioning of Sad Voids is god-awful. Tiny can't hit anyone in that last fight, was struggling to do so. Landed like 3 right clicks total. And now they might actually lose mid-Raxes.
Yeah, I really thought the Tiny should have just committed to the melee barracks in mid, or at the very least to something. He tried to fight Blink and Dreamcool, catches out 2, BKB on Tiny, toss Avalanche onto Klotz, trying to TP out. Will he be able to make it? No! The damage is plenty, and they have a Magic Missile too, and well, that crit's going to spell the end of Witch Doctor's life. Although they attempt for the melee barracks in mid, they only get the tier 3, and now it's Sad Void's turn to return the favor as they barrel down the middle lane.
And the Spectre does have buyback. They really need this Death Ward, though. I didn't even notice that it had that Aghanim Scepter upgrade, but just having an additional source of damage is of the utmost importance right now for CNB. Sad Voids, they have a nice little opening, and they're at the very least going to try to force buybacks. If they keep Tiny a little bit closer to the likes of the IO and the Vengeful Spirit, then their fights are going to be so much cleaner. But if Tiny gets separated, then this mischance is going to be pretty damn annoying for him. Blink forward, Soothe's going to try to split, will get canceled once. Silence is there as well with BKB split. That is going to secure it, and now he's going to charge forward looking for someone else. Cyclone onto the Tiny so that they can go for someone else. Cyclone onto the Puck at the exact same time. Gix is going to get swapped back out. Vengeful Spirit still alive because of that mech, and CNB is struggling to kill off anyone. They might kill off the Vengeful Spirit here, but Tiny's the kill that they really want. Venge down, Phoenix up in the air is going to land, does have an Icarus dive, but just can't get it out with the Death Ward now. With the lasso, Phoenix is going to be a secondary casualty. Klotz looking for someone else. Looks like the jaunt back or the relocate back for the IO is going to keep the Tiny safe. And Lion is going to be dying to the Puck in the meantime, who is going to take a fall shortly after. But a 3-for-1 for CNB, and Sad Voids, they just get absolutely wrecked. This game is still in anyone's hands. I thought Sad Voids, after taking Raxes, would just have complete control, but it seems like that's slipping.
No, their positioning in the fights is a little bit subpar, and their BKB wasn't up for the Tiny in that last engagement, and really is being absolutely stopped by the Brewmaster in that mischance. He needs an MKB or to have his BKB up at all times, and that's just not a possibility.
He has 5,300 gold, so an MKB for him is not too difficult to buy. He does have buyback available to him as far as the, I guess, timer is concerned. So he is going to be for sure saving for that. But although Daedalus is a fantastic item on Tiny when you're hitting so
on the
hard,
Courier, Barrett are going to pull it back across the map into a double damage Brewmaster. Easy pick.
I have never seen that before. Like, I know you can do it. There are, like, you could roar couriers, you could lasso them, you can do a whole bunch of things to them. But usually if you're in that position, you just go ahead and kill it. That was pretty cool, though.
Points for style from CNB.
Man, now I just want to see that all the time. It's not a long cooldown on the Batrider's ultimate either, just a minute at this point. So it's fine to guarantee that. It didn't have anything on it, so I guess for Sad Voids they can't be too upset, but they kind of need it now because Tiny is really wishing that he had, I guess, a recipe to maybe complete up his Daedalus. That's going to involve a trip back to the base, and all the while he's walking, the Spectre is farming. She has picked up her heart, now going to go for that Manta style, but she's farming remarkably slowly in this game. All those deaths not really helping her out too much, and the buyback having been spent.
No, definitely not. I'm not sure if you do commit for the Daedalus on the Tiny. I think the MKB is probably the better choice, but regardless, he'll just farm up till he has buyback.
And that's probably not going to take that long given how much damage he's doing. Roshan is probably going to be the focal point of the next big fight, unless one team wants to smoke up, which I don't really see that happening. With Spectre being relatively underfarmed, CNB are going to want to play this as slowly as possible. So Sad Voids are just going to wait out for Roshan. They would love to have a courier alive just to sit in that Roshan pit and act as a ward, but in the meantime, Tiny is farming, and if they run into anyone or if they see anyone by themselves, then relocate with a Tiny, and there's not much that the enemies can do about that, except for try to blink out before the Tiny can land any hits.
Yeah, well, we are kind of at that state, but there is a smoke up coming out from CNB, and they might bump into the full lineup of Sad Voids. They'll jump onto Gix. He's able to pop the BKB, now turn onto Zeus, but the mischance is too much again. He's just not landing too many hits. Blinking from the Batrider, looking for a lasso target, can't find it. He's tossed back, but with the BKB, Gix gets fingered down, and he's going to end up falling 84 seconds on the sidelines. They'll be able to bring down the supporting cast too, and now pursue for the puck. Purge down to the ground, looking for the jaunt out. Can he make it? They'll chase down the orb, and Zap Brannigan trying to make it out, blinks over towards the right and will survive, but the Phoenix not going to be so lucky as Karuba eats the spike after the paralyzing cask and ends up going down. Again, another disastrous fight for Sad Voids.
Wow, the Brewmaster popping the BKB and man fighting the Tiny. It takes serious balls of steel to actually decide to make that play. Most of the time you just BKB, jump in, primal split immediately because most of the time you're going to die to the Tiny, but the Brewmaster has an insane amount of armor. Like, he's sitting on 29, he has the lifesteal from the Vlads, and that evasion is just making it so easy for the Tiny, or so easy for the Brewmaster rather, to take those man fights. Now that he has a Basher, this Tiny is going to have a pretty decent adversary on the other end. This is a very tanky hero that does not really comparable damage, but with the Basher will be able to, take himself and the Tiny out of the fight. This is looking really bad for Sad Voids all of a sudden. They're going to lose mid-racks at the very least with another 15 seconds until Tiny's up. They can't make a defense. They take a tier 4 on the bottom lane, but I don't think CNB really care about that. Although they are behind, though, Sad Voids have an IO Tiny, and that combination can come back from just a huge, huge gold deficit.
Yeah, the biggest issue for Sad Voids at this point is that Tiny is the only hero that's getting farmed, and CNB, we've already kind of talked about the Brewmaster and the Spectre both doing a lot of work inside these fights, and Sad Voids are just losing everybody on the backlines, and Gix is getting kited incessantly. He does now have an MKB, so it is going to somewhat mitigate that fact, but still, Sad Voids, these last couple of fights have really been going poorly for them. Gix needs to have some defensive item up for this IO, and probably not Eul's Scepter, I don't think. Although that's kind of nice to delay, he just ends up dying too quickly.
I think he just needs to be close to the crowd control effects. If he's able to be right next to the coil onto 2 or something like that, then the cleave gets value, then you could actually hit things with the Tiny, because that's really been his problem. He's been unable to hit things. Ned is going to jump in, he's going to catch the Phoenix, Haunt is there as well, Death Ward immediately channeled, they want to kill off Garuba, they will fail to do so though. Supernova does go off, here comes Soothes, Haunt in as well, they're going to try to focus down the egg, but it won't be in time. It's going to be 1-for-1 so far. Soothes trying to get his split off right now, he's taking so much damage, but the Hex from VSW going to save the Brewmaster's life so that he can in fact split. Where's the Spectre? In the meantime, she's trying to go for the Venge, stuck in a corner, will be going down. Gix in the meantime can't get any damage done. He's just being bumped around everywhere. He will go down, and he does have a buyback, but I don't think he needs to use it right now. Karuba is now going to be focused down by Klotz, who has very high amounts of HP. Mech is there. Icarus Dive, however, is not, and Karuba, because of that, will be going down. Puck is home free, but CNB take yet another amazing fight, a 1-for-4. This Batrider, like we said in the draft, that Vengeful Spirit pretty much hard counters Batrider. I don't know if we've seen a single nether swap to cancel Lasso.
I think we've seen one, but not in any major fights. Double damage rune instantly picked up by CNB, and that's going to spell an Aegis for them and a double life for Klotz. He'll pitch the Poor Man's Shield and the Organ of Shadows as he gets that more important item. And really, CNB's fighting potential is just proving to be too much. That was also a pretty subpar fight for Klotz in particular. He hunted into the backlines and was really far away from most of the Sad Voids heroes until the very end of it, but it just didn't really seem to matter. This Tiny can't do anything unless he's inside the duration of the BKB, and that's down to 5 seconds. And really, Sad Voids need to tighten up the screws if they want a chance of coming back in this game. Right now, their chances seem glum.
And in those 5 seconds, the Tiny, without any real ability to chase heroes down, without, a vast movement speed advantage, no drums, match style or anything like that, and he's probably not going to get that. He's just going to hit whoever he can find, and it's very easy for CNB to cleanly disengage from that Tiny, and as long as it's the Brewmaster to get hit, and in that last fight it was, then the Tiny won't be able to convincingly kill off the Brew within that time duration. Once that BKB ends, there's Hexes waiting for him, Spikes, a Cyclone, Boulder, like so many small tools to slow down the Tiny and eventually kill him off. He is still very tanky, he is still a very hard hero to bring down, but without any backup, all of CNB can focus the Tiny without having to worry about anything except for that Supernova. And that's pretty much the reason why CNB initiated on that Phoenix, because that's the only real thing they have to worry about outside of this Tiny. If they take out the Phoenix and the Tiny, Sad Voids lose. They cannot fight from there.
No, and I think Sad Voids have just found themselves in a really poor position in this game. All things considered, the advantage for CNB is really getting to a point where they can't overcome that. Their heroes don't necessarily scale that well with farm except for the Tiny, and he's 6-slotted. I think CNB can pretty comfortably take this later if they even need to do that, unless they end up trying to base trade with the Tiny, but I don't think that should be a problem for them since they do have great ways to actually catch him out. With Boots of Travel on the Batrider, as well as with the Haunt coming in from the Spectre, there's just not a great position for Sad Voids to go for that rat play either.
Yeah, and the Brewmaster also has Boots of Travels, so that's 3 tools on 3 heroes that can very easily get back to the base and defend. Assuming no $1 million Dream Coil from the puck or anything like that, CNB will most of the time be able to control the Tiny, and that is slowly becoming Sad Void's only real option, because the Tiny does still do a lot of damage as long as he can hit the targets, and buildings don't really move that fast. So killing off structures is what the Tiny does best. But the last time Sad Voids have actually been the CNB's base was a very long time ago. Relocate backdoors are becoming more and more valuable for Sad Voids, and it's a desperation play. Yeah, you don't really want to be doing it, but at the same time, what other options do you have?
Yeah, I think it pretty much is at that point, definitely. Tiny, if he had focused the barracks in that fight in mid so long ago, maybe this game would be slightly different as CNB would be forced to push out these lanes. Although the Radiance is kind of nice to help out with that, their counter push is pretty limited. At the very least, they have to commit heroes to the lanes and not just have like one Naga push out everything for them. The game has slowed down a little bit, and CNB aren't in an immediate position to take a fight, but instead of going for the Mantis, it's actually completed Scotty up for Klotz, and this item is just so good on Spectre. I absolutely love it. It's pretty much a global Scotty slow with Radiance burn onto everybody. With the illusion damage to them, pretty much everybody on Sad Voids is going to be in a really sad place.
Well, let's be honest. Every carry nowadays gets Eye of Scotty, so it's like pretty easy, like no-brainer pick. If you have ever a question in Dota, what item should I get on my carry? The answer is usually Eye of Scotty. Ned, he's going to grab Gix, lasso him up. Where's the Venge Spirit Swap? Not quite there. He can't get the BKB, and now the Death Ward plus Finger Death. Gix can't get a single skill off. The rest of his team, in the meantime, they're getting chased down by the Spectre, who's going man mode versus both the Phoenix and the Ben. Doesn't have any backup right now, but you can't escape the dagger and the Eye of Scotty slow. Radiance not going to kill off the Venge Spirit. Sunray heal going to come in just in time, but Klotz has an Aegis still. They're going to have to buy back with this Tiny to try to defend, but that was a clean initiation from the Batrider. I don't even know what number initiation that was, but so far the Batrider seems to get every single one he's tried to go for. Sude's looking for someone to jump on, but he just can't find a target. That's going to be Rax's Taken up on the top lane. Puck does not have a coil any longer, and CNB can back out at their own leisure and go for the final lane of Rax's. Sad Voids without the buyback on Tiny. This is looking really bad for them. Klotz still has that Aegis, and although he doesn't have buyback, with the amount of kills that they're getting, the Spectre will have buyback shortly.
Yeah, only 2 minutes left on this Aegis. I don't think they're going to be able to get much value out of it unless they commit for a full-on push down mid. But over towards the sidelines, they find a Hex onto the puck. Unfortunately, they don't have any further lockdown. He's able to blink up towards the high ground and now jaunt away in towards his base. That Brannigan is going to narrowly escape.
Luckily for him, they can't afford any casualties at this point because the potential last push of the game is incoming down towards bottom. You can't defend this tier 2. You have to try to bunker up and defend your tier 3. I see this fight going the best for Sad Voids if they could actually snap this lasso. It's so far not been happening, but it's still something that could just brickwall the initiation of CNB, and then at that point, Batrider is maybe going to be awkwardly stuck in the enemy base. The Tiny is able to let loose. If that happens, Sad Voids have a chance here, but so far the track record won't indicate that.
No, the issue right now is the Vengeful Spirit's only level 11, and actually getting in position for that is almost impossible. If you're close enough to swap out the Batrider, he'll probably just lasso you instead. The Vengeful Spirit needs a positioning tool, Force Staff, Blink, anything. But that's seemingly a long ways away. Klotz going to continue with the high ground push down towards bottom. The tier 2 has already fallen. They only have about 45 seconds left of this Aegis. I don't even think Klotz is going to be able to use it. Finger of Death over to Karuba. Karuba already deadly low, and they'll be able to lasso up the Phoenix too. Even though the coil connects on the 3, without the Supernova, can they do anything? They'll buy back, trying desperately to fight into this. The Brewmaster does pop his BKB, and the Spectre's going to haunt in. Vengeful Spirit gets obliterated. Now Karuba forced to use the split. Can they focus down the egg? The Supernova, it looks like it is going to proc, as Klotz is going to get stunned up, and this might be a window for Sad Boys to actually kill off the Spectre's Aegis. Is just about to expire in a mere matter of seconds. CNB, if they've taken the timer closely, looks like they're going to back off. No reason to risk it now.
In the meantime, the Io and Tiny relocated from the top lane into the base. They were trying to go for that backdoor, but the Witch Doctor was there to brick wall them. And because the Tiny is not with travels, he's just traveling with the Io and relying on that relocate, they couldn't have easily defended that bottom lane. Yet luckily for Sad Boys, they haven't outright lost this game. They're just, getting more and more behind as this game progresses. As CNB, they still have the split. They'll have a lasso now, in fact, and they're just going to keep on applying this pressure. Relocate into the base is still the best option for Sad Voids, but they have no way of defending once they actually commit with that relocate. Like, actually, they just will die instantly. So CNB, they're still on the same game plan, which is constrict the map and try to deny this Tiny from actually backdooring. And if they keep applying the pressure towards the Sad Voids base, then it'll be very easy to deny that Tiny that initiation. Zap Brannigan's going to orb in blindly. He is going to have Firefly deal with, however, he gets the instant sheep up, maledicted up, but he's not taking any damage after it, so Maledict, for the most part, wasted. Not really a terribly huge deal. Ned's still looking for an opening. Will dodge an avalanche with the Force Staff. That's some Matrix level shit going on right now, but Sad Boys, they're trying to make something happen, and got to give them credit for trying, but look at the positioning of CNB. Even if they catch one person, it's not going to be enough because all the lanes are going to be pushing in.
Yeah, and even if they catch one person, it's not just one person because of the Boots of Travel and because of the Haunt. I really do like CNB's item choice on the Brewmaster, though. We didn't talk about it at length, but I think going for this more carry version is pretty great, especially for that Wisp. Holy cow! Abyssal down and crit down. The Witch Doctor Ultimate Channel going to drop everybody in the backlines to about half. Gix is surviving with the BKB, although not for long. The Spectre isn't going to haunt in over in that side. She wants to go for the backlines, but eventually they're going to find Gix. Everybody flying up the air in Cyclones as Jewel Scepters have been thrown out either way. Supernova going to be committed. Unfortunately, the Brewmaster clones can't actually attack this egg. Will it be able to proc? No. Egg is down, and GG called by Gixus.
That was a 4v5. VSW was nowhere near that fight. Lion, he was just pushing the bottom lane. He didn't really care. He was just doing his own thing, and still with the annihilation of the Wisp, like 2-shot after the Abyssal, would usually set yourself up for a pretty good win. But the lasso straight after the Tiny got his BKB off meant that that entire BKB duration did literally nothing for him. And then after that, it was just cleanup for CNB. They weathered the storm, and though it looked pretty bad for them at a certain point, the Tiny is not really reliable to carry the game just by himself. He needs someone to help, and this game, there was no one to step up and do it.
Yeah, I think Sad Void's lineup, all things considered, was really hard to execute. Although things were looking up at a certain point, they just weren't able to pull through. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to do it in game number 2, and well, if they want to stick around in the upper bracket, that's what they need to accomplish. Thanks for watching the South America Challenge here on HeflaTV HB1. We'll be back up and running shortly.